For a lot of people, the math section is the scariest part of the ACT exam, but as long as you prepare for it beforehand and practice, you won't have to worry about it. So it's a good thing that the kind people of the ACT have provided us with this. This is the ACT's official math practice test. Why are we in Chuck E. Cheese, bro? So I'm basically just going to explain everything that I'm doing for these problems so that you'll be ready for the test. And I haven't seen any of these questions before. Well, except the first two. But other than that, I'm going into this blind. So let's see how this goes. 6-7. 6-7. Okay, it's fine. Calm down. 6-7 isn't funny. Okay. So it says that Cameron took 4 tests, and those were his scores 100, 60, 80, and 30. And then he took another test that was scored X, and it tells us the mean score. It says that out of the 5 tests, he got a mean score of 72. So we have to basically just find the missing test. So remember that a mean is basically just the same thing as an average. So the average score on these tests was 72. Now, whenever you have something that says we need to solve for X, even if it's in a word problem, that usually implies that we should be doing some sort of algebra, right? So how do you find an average? Well, you always add up all of the numbers and then you divide it by how many numbers there are. So I'm basically just going to write out as an algebra problem how we would find the average. So we're first going to add up all of the test scores. So Cameron got a 100 on his first test, then he got a 60, and then he got an 80, and then he got a 30. These are some wild test scores. And then X for the 5th one, because we don't know what the 5th test score is. That's what we're trying to find. And then once you've added up all of the test scores, we would divide it by how many tests he took, which he took 5 of them. And we know that the average is going to be equal to 72. So now we basically just need to solve for X, and we can do that using algebra. And we need to get X by itself on this side of the equation. So X is trapped at the top of this fraction, but we can just get rid of the fraction because fractions are just division. So I'm going to do the opposite of division, which is multiplication, and multiply both sides of the equation by 5. So these cancel out. And on the left side, we just have, well, this big thing. And on the right side, we have 72 times 5. And if you were to put this into your calculator, you would get 360. So now that we've gotten the fraction out of the way, it's a lot easier to get X by itself. But this equation still looks kind of complicated. But all of these are just numbers that I can add together. I guess you could call them like terms. So why don't I just add all of these together? So 100 plus 60 is 160, plus 80 is 240, plus 30 is 270. So all of this together makes 270 plus X equals 360. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this because I'm running out of room here. So the only thing in X's way now of being by itself is this 270. And it's being added to X. So I'm going to do the opposite of addition, which is subtraction, and subtract both sides by 270. So these cancel out. On the left side, we just have X, and on the right side, we have 360 minus 270, which is 90. So this means that Cameron's final test score was a 90. Okay, so for this one, we have a Venn diagram. So we have S, C, and P, and those are basically just the 3 different animals that this farmer has, and we have to figure out how many farms represented do not raise cows. Well, this question might actually be a lot easier than you think. You see that there's a bunch of different numbers, but if you think about it, just all of the numbers inside of that C circle are the ones that raise cows. And all of the ones that are outside of the C circle do not raise cows. Those 2 other circles with the S and the P, that's just useless information because all it's asking us about is cows. So who cares if they raise sheep or pigs? So it looks like outside of that C circle, there's a 12 in there. That 12 is only in the S circle. So that is a farmer that only raises sheep. And then it looks like there's also a 2 outside of the C circle that raise both sheep and pigs. And then there's a 5 that's outside of the C circle. They only raise pigs. But you didn't even have to know that. You just have to know that they're outside of the C circle. All of those other numbers on there are inside of it. So let's just add these together. 12 plus 2 is 14. And 14 plus 5 is 19. So it looks like there are 19 farmers that don't raise cows. Okay, this one looks like it has a lot of words. You're going to be seeing a lot of word problems on the ACT. So I'm going to get my head out of the way. So it says that Marco designs a spinner wheel that has exactly 4 red, blue, green, and... Wait, what? Exactly 4 red, blue, green, and yellow. What? I think it's just saying that there's a red section, a blue section, a green section, and a yellow section. I think that's what it's saying. I guess this is what I get for trying to do a practice test that looks like Chuck E. Cheese. And it says that he wants the spinner wheel to have a 25% chance of landing on each section. So basically each one needs to be equal. So whenever you see one of these kinds of problems, I want you to envision this in your head. I want you to imagine a spinner wheel, kind of like a little pie chart, and a quarter of the circle, a quarter of the spinner is each color. And that's his goal. That's what he wants. And it says he spins the wheel 500 times, and those are the results of the spins. Based on the results in this table, one of the following changes would be the best fix. Which one? Okay, so let's see our answer choices. It says he should decrease the area of the red section by increasing the area of the blue section. Well, if we think about that logically, red was the one that got spun the least, so why would we decrease that? Then you would make it even worse, so let's not do that. He should increase the area of the red section by decreasing the area of the blue section. Okay, I mean, I feel like that's possible because red is the worst and blue is the best, so we could take away some blue and add some red. He should increase the area of the red section by decreasing the area of any of the other three sections. Well, if we're going to decrease one of the other sections, we should probably do it with the one that got landed on the most, because that's probably the biggest one. And then he should decrease the area of the blue section, and then it does not matter which section's area is increased. Now it matters because red is the smallest one. So basically it's implying that we should change the wheel. It's not like don't change the wheel as an option. So to me, it seems like if we are going to change this, the best choice is to add to the smallest one and take away from the biggest one because you're trying to make them as equal as possible. So I think that the best fix for this is going to be that we increase red, our smallest one, and we decrease blue, which is our biggest one, and that'll make them as equal as possible. All right, oh, we've got some geometry. All right, angles. So it says that in triangle ABC, so I just want you to imagine a triangle right now, angles A and C are congruent, and the measure of angle B is 143.6. What is the measure of angle A? Okay, so for this, we need to know a couple geometry things that if you don't know them, if you're not aware of them, then this might be a little bit tough. First of all, it says that angles A and C are congruent. So basically, when two angles are congruent, that means that they have the same angle measure. So the measure of angle A is going to be equal to the measure of angle C. Don't get confused about these M's. The M just stands for measure. So it basically just means we're talking about the amount of degrees and not about the actual angle itself. So the second rule about triangles that you should always know is that all three angles of the triangle are going to add up to 180 degrees. So if we take 143.6 and then we add together angle A and angle C, then they should add up to 180. So we can solve this using algebra just like the first problem, but it might seem kind of weird because we have two letters that we need to solve for. And normally when you have one equation, you can only solve for one letter. But remember that we were told that because A and C are congruent, they are going to be equal to each other. So how about we just replace A and C with X? It doesn't matter what letter you use, but we can show that these two are going to be the same number. So we can use the same letter for both of them. They're equal. And whenever you have two terms with the same letter, those are like terms and you can actually combine them. So x plus x is going to turn into 2x. And when we just rewrite the rest of the equation, just keep it the same, then you'll notice that this is an algebra problem with just one letter. And we didn't have to use x. You could have actually just erased c and replaced it with a because c is equal to a. You can use whatever letter you want, but the point is that you can combine them into 2 times x. So now let's go ahead and solve for x. We have a 2 multiplied to x and a big number added to x. And usually you want to get rid of the addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to get rid of this 143.6 by subtracting it from both sides of the equation, the opposite of addition. So these cancel out. On the left side, we just have 2x. And on the right side, we have 180 minus 143.6. I'm just going to put that in my calculator. And when I do that, I get 36.4. And now we just have a one-step equation. So this is multiplication whenever you have a number next to a letter. So I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, and divide both sides by 2. So these cancel out. On the left side, we just have x. And on the right side, we have 36.4 divided by 2, which you can put that in your calculator as well. You'll get 18.2. And that is one of our answer choices. So the answer is going to be 18.2. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that before we even started this problem, you probably could have noticed that 143.6 is not going to be the answer because it needs to add up to 180. So that is way too big. And these other ones are actually all way too big. So even without doing that math, you could have figured out that it was 18.2. Okay, we've got some algebra here, some factoring. So which of the following expressions is equivalent to x squared minus x minus 30? So you'll notice that those answers in the top right are two sets of parentheses, and each one is x plus a number or x minus a number. So whenever you see that, you should be like, that's factoring or that's FOIL. It depends on which way you're going. But when we're going from the quadratic equation at the top there to the parentheses format, it's the opposite of FOIL. So we call that factoring. So to factor a quadratic equation, we basically are just going to need the number in front of x and the number that's by itself. And make sure you always include the minus signs. Now there's no number in front of x, but that means that there's an invisible 1. So it's actually going to be -1. -1 in front of x and -30 by itself. So we need to find two numbers that add up to -1 and multiply to get -30. So let's run through those numbers. I always like to start with the numbers that multiply to 30 and then figure out what they add to. So what numbers multiply to 30? Well, there's 1 and 30. That's the obvious one. And remember that it's -30. So one of these numbers is going to have to be negative. We're always going to put the negative sign on the bigger number because we're adding to a negative number. So if we were adding to a positive number, then I would put the minus sign on the 1, the smaller number. So these multiply to -30, but if you add them together, 1 minus 30 is -29. That's definitely not what we're looking for. What about 2 and 15? Those multiply to 30. Again, we're going to put the minus sign on the bigger number so that we'll add to a negative number. And 2 minus 15 is -13. That's still not what we're looking for, but we're closer. Now, also 3 times 10 is 30. Again, we'll put the minus sign on the bigger number. And 3 minus 10 is -7. We're closer, but still not -1. The only other factors of 30 are 5 and 6. 5 times 6 is 30. We have to put the negative sign on one of them, so we'll do it on the bigger number. And 5 minus 6 is -1. And -1 is the number that we're looking for, so 5 and -6 are our magic numbers. Now, the last thing we have to do with our magic numbers is we just put them in parentheses with x's. So we have two sets of parentheses with x's. One of them is going to have +5, and one of them is going to have -6. So now let's go ahead and look at our answer choices. None of them look exactly like what we just came up with, but this one right here is exactly the same as our answer, except they just decided to flip the two sets of parentheses. But remember, it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. This answer here is wrong because this is +6 and -5. So those would multiply to -30, but they add together to make +1. So this right here is our answer for question 5. Oh boy. Okay, we have matrices. Oh boy. Now here's the thing about matrices, right? If you haven't gone past like algebra 2 or geometry, you might have never seen matrices in your life. So you might be tempted to just go ahead and skip this problem. But it's on the ACT for a reason, and I feel like this is possible to just wing it. Like, come up, what do you think is the most reasonable answer? Now, there's only two of those answers that are actually the same size of a matrix, because that's like a 2x2 one up there. But two of the answers aren't even 2x2s. So we can actually just get rid of these two answers up here. So now which one just seems the most reasonable? Well, remember that when you have a number next to something without a sign, that means multiplication. And I don't even, what is the third option there? What is C? I don't even know what's going on. Oh, it looks like they're adding them together. So part of this is even if you don't know how to do the problem, you can try to figure out where the wrong answers are coming from because the test writers, they were trying to make answers that you might reasonably come up with. And for answer C, they're just adding together the numbers. But we know that this is multiplication because they're next to each other without a sign. And for the fourth option, it looks like they are multiplying it together because 5 times a -4 is -20, or 5 times 2 is 10. So to me, it looks like D is the most reasonable answer. And in fact, that is actually how you do matrices. Whenever you're multiplying it by a number, you just multiply all the numbers inside the parentheses or inside the matrix, whatever, same thing. Okay, final question here, and it's a word problem about Levon. So Levon purchased some tickets and snack vouchers for an upcoming event and gave them to the members of her work group. Each member of her group received the same number of tickets and the same number of snack vouchers. So again, I just want you to picture in your head a group of people, and they're all getting tickets and vouchers passed out to them, and they're all getting the same amount. The total number of tickets was 30, and the total number of vouchers was 75. So which of the following could be the number of members in the work group? So whenever you see which of the following could be the total number of members, I think usually this means there's like two possibilities. So one possibility is that it's an algebra problem and it's like an inequality. So for example, you would solve the algebra problem and then it would be like x is greater than 3. And then you have to pick out the number that's greater than 3. That's a pretty common pattern on like SAT or ACT questions. But the other possibility is that we just need to go over each of these answers and just see if it's possible. So for this one, this is not going to be a problem we can just solve. Like on paper, we have to test out each answer to see if it works. So let's say that there are 10 people in the group, and remember that she wants to pass out all of the tickets and all of the vouchers evenly. So if there are 30 tickets and 10 people, well, 30 divided by 10 is 3. So each person in the group is going to get 3 tickets. But the problem comes up when there are 75 vouchers, because if you tried to divide that among 10 people, well, then you're going to end up with, well, you can't divide this by 10. It's going to be 7.5. And you're not going to give someone half of a voucher. So 10 is not going to be a reasonable answer. What about 15? Well, if we try to divide these evenly among her coworkers, 15 of them, well, 30 divided by 15 is 2. So each of them in the group is going to get 2 tickets. And if we divide 75 for the vouchers by 15, then that's going to be 5. And remember, if you didn't know this, you can put this in a calculator. So in this case, we can actually divide the tickets and the vouchers evenly. So it looks like 15 is going to be the answer. And if we want, we can just double check the other answers. So 25, you wouldn't be able to divide the tickets evenly because 25 of them are going to get 1 ticket. And then you have 5 extra ones, and what are you going to do with those? And then 30 wouldn't work either, because you could divide the tickets evenly, each one would get 1, but then for the vouchers, each person's going to get 2, that's going to make 60, and then you have 15 extra that you have to pass out. So only 15 is going to work here. So it looks like the answer to our question is going to be 15. Okay, I've already seen the first 2 questions before this video, but the rest of them I just went into blind, so let's see how I did. What? Bro, I have to like give you my email to get my answers? Oh, hey, look at that. We got 7 out of 7 correct. And my prize is I will now get junk mail daily for the rest of my life. So yeah, what I just showed you is the best way to prepare for the ACT, doing practice problems. So if you're ready to continue your practice with some more practice problems, then this video is the one you'll want to watch next. I don't, who thought that this was a good idea? I don't, okay.